Hello everyone, welcome back to PrepBee, and we are doing final 30 days challenge, and today is day 21. And today we are going to look at 2022 slot 1 passage. So let's get started. This was a passage that I had given during my CAT, and let's see. Octopuses are misfits in their own extended families. They belong to the Molucca class Cephalopoda, but they don't look like their cousins at all. Other mollusks include sea slugs, bivalves. Most are shelled invertebrates with a dorsal fin. Cephalopods are all arms and can be as tiny as 1 centimeter and as large as 30 feet. Some of them have brains the size of a walnut, which is large for an invertebrate. All right, so they are just trying to say that octopuses, they are very unique. They are misfits in their own extended family. All right, they are very different from other animals that belong to their biological group. All right, so they are the part of this cephalopoda, and which is one class within a large Molluscus family, and it includes many invertebrate animals. All right, but unlike the other animals that belong to that class, octopuses, they have a very different appearance. All right. They have given other molluscs include sea snails, slugs, bivalves, all of them. But these octopuses, they are very different from all this and kind of appearance as well. All right. Now, most molluscs, they have shells uh, as part of their body. All right. They have shells, which is called as foot. All right. Which is used for all these movements, which is usually on the underside. All right. And now, however, these cephalopods, which include octopuses, they have arms instead of a typical body structure, and they come in many sizes from tiny to large. Some of them, they have surprisingly large brains, uh, that is the size of a walnut. They have surprisingly very large brains for invertebrates as well. So here in this first paragraph, they are just trying to say how octopuses are unique in their own nature. In appearance wise, also they are very much different. The instead of having the foot part or the shells as a part of their body, they have arms instead of the typical body structure. They come in various sizes. They can be as tiny as 1 centimeter and as large as 30 feet, and they also have a very large brain, that is the size of the walnut brain. All right. It makes sense for these molecules to have added protection in the form of higher cognition. They don't have a shell covering them. As mentioned before, they don't have a shell covering them. So it's good that they have an added protection in the form of higher cognition. They have higher cognition. Now they are trying to say that these octopuses, they have higher cognition. And pretty much everything feeds on cephalopods, including humans. So octopuses, they evolve a higher intelligence because they lack a protective shell and they face many predators. So these cephalopods, they have unique ways to camouflage themselves and protect themselves from predators. All right. Now, but how did cephalopods manage to secure their own invisibility glow? Cephalopods fire from multiple cylinders to achieve this in varying degrees from species to species. There are four main catalysts: chromatophores, iridophores, papillae, and leucophores. So now they are just trying to say that these species, they have unique ways to camouflage themselves and protect themselves from predators. They use several biological mechanisms to create this camouflage, and there are four main features that help them to do this. To get this invisibility glow up. And what are these main features? All of this. We need not read all of this perfectly, just skim through it. Okay, so these are the four main categories. I'm not going to ask you fact based, so do not, try to read this and waste your time. Just go on, go. Just understand what is the main idea. Here, second paragraph, main idea is what? They have higher intelligence. They have this invisibility cloak, that is, they can, they can camouflage themselves, and they use various features to do this. इससे ज़्यादा मत सोचो कि क्या words है, इसका क्या meaning है, what is the meaning of this, what is the meaning of this, or don't think all of that. Just get the main gist. So now they are trying to explain what is chromatophores. They are organs on the body that contain pigment sacs which have red, yellow, and brown pigment granules. These sacs have a network of radial muscles, meaning muscles arranged in a circle radiating outwards. These are connected to a brain by the nerve. When the cephalopod wants to change color, the brain carries an electrical impulse through the nerve to the muscles that expands outward, pulling open the sacs to display colors on the skin. Why these three colors? Because they are the colors. The light reflects at the depths they live in. The rest is absorbed before it reaches those depths. All right, so they are trying to explain that these chromatophores, they are specialized cells on these bodies. They contain a pigment sac that is filled with three colors: red, yellow, brown. Why these three colors only? Because these three colors they reflect light at the depths in which these octopuses or this species live. All right, rest all the other colors are absorbed before it reaches the depth. So these three colors the pigment has these three colors. Now these pigment sacs, they have circular muscles around them which allow for color changes when they contract and they expand. So the brain controls all of this through their nerve signals. And when the octopus wants to change its color, the brain sends an electrical signal to activate the muscles in these chromatophores. This is the gist of the passage. What is the use of the chromatophores? Well, what about other colors? Q, the iridophores. Think of a second level of skin that has thin stacks of cells. These can reflect light back at different wavelengths. It is using the same properties that we have seen in hologram stickers or rainbows on puddles of oil. You move your head and see a different color. The sticker isn't doing anything but reflecting light. It's your movement that's changing the appearance of color. This property of holograms, oil, and other such surfaces is called iridescence. All right. So now what they are trying to say is that at the depths where octopuses live, only certain colors of light reaches them. And now to achieve colors beyond red, yellow, and brown, they use another structure that is called iridophores. Now iridophores form an additional skin layer with cells that stack to reflect the light. So they change the wavelength of reflected light. These iridophores, what they do, they change the wavelength of reflected light, which results in different colors. So they create a similar effect to that of holograms or oil rainbows where colors change based on the viewing angle. All right, and this phenomenon is called as iridescence. All right. Now, papillae are sections of the skin that can be deformed to make a texture bumpy. Even humans possesses them, but cannot use them in the manner that cephalopods can. For instance, the use of these cells is how an octopus can wrap itself over a rock and appear jagged, or how a squid or cuttlefish can imitate the look of coral reef by growing miniature towers on the skin. It actually matches the texture of the substrate it chooses. All right. So now they are saying that the third one. Papillae, they are sections of the skin. They are skin areas that can change shape. They can create a texture on the surface. All right. They don't change the color, they change the texture. Humans also have this, but they cannot control as much as these species can. Octopuses use this to change their skin texture to blend into various surfaces. Like they can appear on the rocks or corals, all of that. So for that, this is used. Now, finally, the fourth one, leucophores, according to a paper published in the Nature, cuttlefish and octopuses possesses an additional type of reflector cell called a leucophore. These are cells that scatter full spectrum light so that they appear white in a similar way that a polar bear's fur appears white. Or leucophores will also reflect any filtered light shown on them. If the water appears blue at a certain depth, the octopuses and cuttlefish can appear blue. If the water appears green, they appear green, and so on and so forth. All right. So finally the leucophores, they are the fourth type of cell, and what they do is they reflect all colors in the visible spectrum, which appears white but can adapt to the change of the color in the surrounding light. That means they adjust to the current color of the ambient light, and they help these species match any color tone under the specific water depth. If the water appears green, the color also, or the color of this species also will, be seen as green, so that the predators, they cannot understand कि वो पानी है, वो क्या है, वो species है, and all of that. All right. All of the following are reasons for octopuses being misfits, except that, what is the except? All right, that they have several arms. It is mentioned in the first paragraph itself that they have arms, and this is what is different. They have arms. That all other these people have arms, but they are consumed by humans and other animals. Do we know that they are consumed by humans and all other animals? We are not sure about this. They do not process and shell, that is given very clearly. They exhibit higher intelligence, this is also given, but second one is not given. So second is your answer. You can see that the questions are very simple. At least the first question has been really simple. From my experience, I can say the other questions are also very simple. Based on the passage, we can infer that all of the following statements, if true, would weaken the camouflaging adaptiveness of cephalopods, except. All right. The hydrostatic pressure at the depths at which they reside renders radial muscle movements difficult. So if the hydrostatic pressure at the depth would render the radial muscle movement difficult, would it weaken the camouflaging adaptness of these species? We don't know. No information as such is given. So we cannot say. The temperature of water at the depth at which they reside renders the transmission of neural signals difficult. Even so, if the you know uh, if the neural signals are difficult, then वो camouflage नहीं कर पाएंगे. So again, this is not your answer. Light reflects the colors red, green, and yellow at the depths at which they reside. Yes, that is true. It's not weakening, it's strengthening, that they are adapt to it. The number of chromatophores in cephalopods is half the number of iridophores and leucophores. Now, अगर ये chromatophores जो मेनली रेस्पॉन्सिबल है तुम्हारे कलर चेंज के लिए, अगर ये ही हो जाए कि कैमोफ्लेजिंग ही नहीं हो पाएगी, अगर यही कम है, नंबर कम है इनसे, तो फिर दिस वन विल बिकम डिफिकल्ट, एंड हेंस फोर्थ इज योर आंसर. Based on the passage, it can be inferred that camouflaging techniques in an octopus are most dissimilar to those in polar bears. Sea snails, they have given us examples of other species that other mollusks include. So the squids and cuttlefish, for example, they require. Which of the following statements is not true about camouflaging ability? Cephalopods can take on the color of their predator. Yes, exactly. That is what they have been trying to do. Second paragraph, second iridophores cover here. Also, they can blend into color of their surroundings. Exactly. Water green है तो green लगेगा. दे रखा है तुम्हारा. They can change their color. Yes, they can do. They can change their texture. Yes. I'm so sorry. They can take the color of the predator is not given. They can change their texture. The third element does this. कि texture bumpy बना देता है. काफी right. They can change their color. Chromatophores कर देता है. They can blend into color of their surroundings. यहाँ पे दे रखा है कि leucophores कर देता है. But they can change. They can take on the color of the predator is not given. I'm sorry for the misinformation. So first is your answer. Now let's do the fifth one. The trajectory of cheerfulness through the self is linked to the history of the word cheer, which comes from an old French meaning face. Translations of the Bible into vernacular languages expanded the noun cheer into the more abstract cheerfulness, something that circulates as an emotional and social quality, defining the self and a moral community. When you take on a cheerful expression, no matter what the state of your soul, your cheerfulness moves into the self. The interior of the self is changed by the power of a cheer. People in the medieval Canterbury tales have piteous or a sober cheer Cheer is an expression and a body part lying at the intersection of emotions and physiology. All right, so see here we will start with three by three because they are talking about when you take on a cheerful expression, no matter what your status, this will move into the self. The interior of the self is changed by the power of cheer. It is just introducing what what cheerful expression can do. Now, three and one is linked again because they are talking about something called concept of self. And here the trajectory of cheerfulness through self, it is linked with the history of the word cheer, which comes from an old French meaning face. So they are talking about how the self is linked to, history of the word cheer. Now, what is that? What is that history? These people in the medieval days, they have used it as an expression and a body part lying at the intersection of these. 314. And then they are also trying to say that translations of this have expanded this now into a more abstract thing. So 3142. Now, several of the world's earliest cities were organized along egalitarian lines. In some regions, urban populations governed themselves for centuries without any indication of the temples and palaces that would rather emerge in others, temples and places never emerged at all, and there is simply no evidence of a class of administrators or any other sort of ruling strata. It would seem that the mere fact of urban life does not necessarily imply any particular form of political organization and never did. Far from resigning us to inequality, the picture is now emerging of humanity's past may open our eyes to egalitarian possibilities we otherwise would have never considered. So, they are trying to say that they were organized along these lines and they did not have any class of administrators, they did not have any ruling stratum. Everything was good. They were far from resigning us to inequality. And it was something that now, the picture is that is now emerging of humanity's past may open our eyes to these possibilities we would have never considered. So now, first one is we now have evidence in support of existence of an egalitarian urban life in some ancient cities where political and civic organization was far less hierarchical. Okay. The emergence of class of administrators and ruling emergence कहाँ से आ गया? Emergence of this one transform नहीं गलत है distortion. Contrary to our assumption of urban settlements have always involved hierarchical, political, and administrative structures, they were not organized in this way. Now, this is very tricky. This is very distortion. We do not know if we are assuming this. Nobody has stated the contrary to the assumption. The lack of hierarchical administration can be reduced by the absence of religious and regal structures such as temples and palaces. ये तो एकदम ही खराब है. So first is your answer. All right.